Hi, everyone. This is Heather Hodges. I'm an organizational psychologist. Welcome to my show. This is the place where we say I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. Today's guest is a dear friend and a shining example of what it means to lead with heart. Jennifer Elliott is the executive director of Heart of Georgia Hospice, and her journey through healthcare is truly inspiring. From starting as a certified nursing assistant over 20 years ago to becoming a registered nurse and now leading one of Georgia's most trusted home care providers, Jennifer brings deep compassion, strong leadership, and a personal connection to the work she does every single day. For the past 12 years, she has dedicated herself to home health and hospice, and Jennifer has served at the bedside, guiding clinical teams, mentoring leaders across the country, and now she has stepped into an executive role. Jen leads with a clear purpose, which is to honor the kind of care her own grandparents received from Heart of Georgia Hospice, and to ensure every family experiences that same level of dignity and support. Jen Elliott, my dear friend, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Heather. I'm super excited to be here. What an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying I'm in. Thank you for saying yes to coming on the show. And I will say that I know there will be listeners who know you. Yeah. And who are like, oh my gosh, Jen Elliott's on Heather's podcast. It just totally elevated, like she's got a star. But for those of you who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit more about your background, who you are, what your values are, what you're doing now, and where you are in this amazing world?
Oh yeah, there is definitely. I hope there's some old colleagues and friends that see this that I can say hi, guys. Like Heather said, I've been in the profession for a little over 20 years now. Home health and hospice for a while. It was a accident to get into home health and hospice. Honestly, I got a flyer in the mail that said we're hiring home health nurses, and I was like, what is home health nurse? This sounds cool. And it was one of those like, this is a sign. This is where I'm supposed to go. And dove in to it head first and never looked back. Getting to do everything from the bedside to in my previous role. Most recently, I got to travel all over the country. I got to train some leaders. I got to fill in as leaders in different branches, and still got to be even a certified nursing assistant during that time for a while when we didn't have one. So I tell everybody that first and foremost, I'm a Christian. I am definitely a God follower, and I lead my team here with that. One of the things that I love so much about hospice is it is a faith-based company. Our mission is faith-based, and everything that we do revolves around that mission. So finally getting to be in a role where we can be open about our faith. We can talk about it together. We can pour it into our patients and our customers, and everyone that we meet has been truly, without a doubt, a godsend place for me to be, but has definitely elevated every aspect of my life.
Yeah. And of course, that's something that you and I share. And I think we recognize that in each other early on. I truly believe that deep calls to deep. And we saw each other. Yeah, you're a sister. I know you. Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. Well, you're talking about your previous role, and that's how you and I met. We were both working for the same, nationwide, national home health and hospice organization, and you were a clinical operations guru. Like you knew, like if Jen Elliott's coming in, we're going to be all right. Like you're going to take care of things. And I saw you do that time and time again with branches all over the country. And it was, such a joy to watch you there and get to know you doing that role. But oh my goodness, in this role now, Jen, you just watching you shine and lead and use all of your gifts and talents at Heart of Georgia is just spectacular.
You're too kind. You really are. I don't know. I have just gotten to have the right people pour into me. You being one of those main ones, just really like seeing that potential and helping to develop those skills that we're there, but I think we're just kind of hidden and immature. And learning how to truly develop that, learning that from you and from a few other friends that are out there in that other world that we used to be in, that definitely have just invested so much time, truly made a difference, and got me to where I am today. So.
Yeah. And I want to talk more about that in a little bit, about just, professional development, and when somebody recognizes your gifts and talents and your leadership skills, and how we pull that out. But before we get there, let's talk about hospice.
Yeah.
And I know that there are a lot of misconceptions about hospice, and there's a lot of myths out there. And I know you've heard them all. So can you teach us about hospice, teach us about this benefit and this care during the last stages of life?
Yeah, I think, not just think, I know, hospice is one of the most underutilized benefits that we have in the country in healthcare. There are so many misconceptions about it. There are so many stigmas around hospice that people shy away from it and do not truly realize the benefit. It not only helps patients to have the best quality of life with the quantity that they have left. And studies have shown that patients actually live longer once hospice is brought on board than the patients who didn't have hospice. But I think, to me, one of the biggest benefits of hospice is what it does for the families. We definitely keep patients comfortable. We improve their quality of life, which is huge. But being able to walk hand in hand and step by step through this journey with the family, with the loved ones that are facing something that's, we all know is going to happen one day, but is so hard to have to swallow and to go through. That is where the heart of hospice comes into. The fact that we're there through all those steps, and then we're still there after it. So hospice stays on and in contact with these family members for 13 months after a patient passes away. So the grieving doesn't stop the day they die. It doesn't stop a week after someone passes. And it doesn't start when they pass. You have anticipatory grieving that happens. And that's what our team helps to go through. And like I said, stay on with them for up to 13 months after. I think one of the biggest misconceptions and biggest stigmas, and it is my life goal to change. And y'all know I'm from Georgia, so that southern part comes out. But my most disliked phrase that I ever hear is, "Oh Lord, they just called in hospice on Mama." It kills me. That keeps that stigma going. That keeps it. Then we are the Grim Reapers. They just called in hospice, so now this person's gonna pass away. We're gonna bring in the magic pills or the magic shots or whatever, and we're gonna speed that process up. I really want to change that phrase to being, oh my gosh, they finally called in hospice for this family. They finally got some additional help. We're just the next level of care, and we're a higher level of care. Our team comes to your home. Our doctor comes to your home. Our counselors, our chaplain, our volunteers, our aides, they all come to you. Like, you no longer have to struggle to go to all these different doctor's visits and have multiple clinicians that are trying to manage your care but not communicating with each other. So getting that next level of care and getting to the point that we're like, I am so thankful this doctor didn't put it off any longer, and they brought in hospice at the perfect timing so that not only this patient is comfortable from day one and getting to enjoy time with their family and their friends for whatever time that God allows them to have left here with them, but we get to prepare that family and help that transition and that journey just be so much lighter on them, and they get to enjoy every single one of those moments too.
Oh, that's truly beautiful. I think you're so right. I think a lot of times when we hear the word hospice, we think, oh no, this is it. This is a death sentence. That's what it's all about. It's about dying. And what I hear you saying is that's not exactly right, that it's more about living fully and living with, joy and abundance with the quality of life that you can for as long as you can. Yeah. But also the preparation. And it's not just about taking care of the patient. It's also walking beside and caring for the family as well. 13 months, even after your loved one passes, the hospice benefit continues. Because that's so important, that milestone of the 1-year anniversary of a death, that's hard. Yeah.
And we want to make sure we're there for after that, because it is one of the hardest times, is that 1-year milestone.
Mm-hmm. When you think back, I'm switching gears just a little bit because I have this theory and I keep running across this. So I get to talk with a lot of nurses in my world. And you said this earlier in your introduction, as you didn't think you were going to end up in hospice. Like, you didn't set out to be an executive director of an amazing hospice organization, but you ended up here. And where did you start your career? Were you in med surg? Were you in neonatology, obstetrics? Where did you begin?
So all the way back to the very beginning as a nurse and assistant, I got to start out at a nursing home and skilled care and helping out with the elderly. So I've worked with the elderly a lot since the very beginning, which is just I think I just have a heart for that group of people. It's just amazing. But my nursing track, I worked in med surg for the first couple of years, and then as an LPN. And then when I finished my RN, I actually was in neuro ICU, which was intense. Nothing I ever wanted to do. I was like, there's no way, this isn't for me. But I learned so much during that time about the body and the brain and just how all the things work. And ended up transitioning over to the OR about 2 years after that. And that's where I was when I received the flyer in the mail that moved me into home health and hospice. And like I said, I never looked back.
Wow. Okay, so recruiters who are listening to this, flyers in the mail work.
Right. They definitely work.
Wow. And here you are. And I can't imagine you doing anything else. I have no idea what the Lord has for you, but I know that you're being used in extraordinary ways right now there at Heart of Georgia. Yeah. And the business model for Heart of Georgia is unique. And I don't know if this is common or uncommon, but can you walk us through you are a nonprofit, but you almost run 2 businesses and one helps support the other. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So we are the only independent nonprofit in about a 60-mile, 70-mile radius of where we're at. So within Middle Georgia, we're the only independent nonprofit, which is really cool. Working with a nonprofit allows us to do a whole lot more things that other businesses can't do just because they're limited being under that for-profit status. One of those is we have a thrift store, which is just a heart of mine. I love the thrift store. Heart of Georgia Hospice itself has been here for just over 40 years, and the thrift store started right behind it. So it truly does pour every single dime that it makes into the hospice, which we then turn around and pour it into our community. So we get to do a lot of things because of that thrift store. We have free grief counseling for our entire community. It doesn't matter if you have ever been a patient of ours, had a patient or family member on our services. Doesn't matter if it's about someone that's already passed or that anticipatory grieving we were talking about earlier. Whatever it is that you need that counseling for, you just call up here and make an appointment. And that's just free to the community. We also have a casserole ministry that we do where we get to provide food to families in need, whether it's during that time passing. You've got all the family coming and visiting, and who wants to try to cook and do that? And some people can't even afford to prepare all that food. So we get to do that ministry there. And then the biggest heart of ours that I just I got to attend my first one last year, and it just like brought me to tears multiple days. But we do a grief counseling camp for children. It's completely free. It's an entire weekend they spend with us, stay there. We incorporate a ton of games and fun and motorcycle rides and just a whole lot of things. And at the same time, we teach them how to process through that grieving process that they're going through. And so it's called Camp Wings, and WINGS stands for When in Need, Get Support. So we're really teaching them that they're not alone in this journey. Grieving is hard enough as an adult when you know it's coming and you have lived life, but to have to go through that as a child is just a next level. So us getting to put that on and add in some fun with it as well as some healing time is just amazing.
Wow. So the free counseling, the grief counseling for anybody in the community, and then a casserole ministry. And being a good Southern Texas girl myself, I understand a good casserole. That's right. Awesome. I love that you named it the casserole ministry. And then Camp Wings. Wow, what an event. And I was actually at Heart of Georgia. I was visiting you, and I saw the staging area for the Wings, the camp. Y'all were going all out. It looked like it was going to be an amazing event, and getting to pour into those kids and help them learn how to grieve. Gosh, what a ministry.
That's definitely awesome. What it is. It's a calling and it's a ministry, which is why I'm here.
Okay. And who doesn't need a good thrift store? I mean, that's a fantastic, the thrift store. Okay, Jen, tell me about, when did you know you were going to be a leader?
Oh, goodness. Something like from the first time that I got into my adult world of working, even at a grocery store, I knew that I wanted to be a leader. Mm-hmm. The problem was I didn't know what a leader was. I knew what a boss was. And I worked for a lot of bosses. Mm-hmm. And so in my mind at that time, even starting at like 16, being a boss was just how you did. Like you just kept climbing until you got to that. And it wasn't until probably my first management role as a nurse that I realized, this boss thing doesn't work. It does not work at all. Even though like I was never coming at it from, in my heart, from a boss mentality, my actions were that. My impression that I gave to others were truly that. So I had someone, that was really great in a leadership role that was like, you gotta back up a little bit. Can't quite lead this way. You can't come in and just think everything's going to change from day one. But it wasn't honestly until the previous company that I was at where they truly did pour into professional development. Mm-hmm. They had people like you come in. They allowed us to do a lot of classes that I really started figuring out what a leader was, and that was what I wanted to be.
Gosh, that distinction between a boss and a leader, it's so stark. But for years and years and years, that's the only example we knew. Like that was the old style of command and control. Let me tell you what to do. It doesn't work anymore. It might have worked at a time, but that's not what we need in this world today. Yeah. I mean, there are times when we have to be directive. True. Like there are true emergencies or moments of crisis, or like, no, this is how we're doing it. But for the most part, I think people want a leader or a coach, somebody who's going to help grow and develop them, and not boss them.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, and maybe I have an aversion to the word boss because as an Enneagram 8, that's one of the bossy 8s. So, but you are not an Enneagram 8. Tell us about your Enneagram number.
So I am a 3, and just in full transparency, it took me quite a hot minute to be okay with the fact that I was a 3. I think that's one of the harder ones because we're called the chameleon, and we can change and kind of be wherever we need to be, or put out whatever we need to be within that moment to make it work, which I'm learning is a great thing. It's still taking me time to be okay with that part of it, but it does allow me to adapt to all the different areas that I have in this role, especially between working with my clinical hospice team to working with my thrift store that, is totally a different world. Like when you're looking at retail versus patient care, that's a lot. It also helps me with the fact that I have a very diverse Enneagram team here. So being able to shift and to really focus in or adapt to what I need to work with each one of my team members individually was a big thing. Also a big, huge goal setter. So I set a lot of goals for our team, and I'm a big pusher on like, let's get them done. So learning still how to softly, go about that, let them figure out how to do it and set those goals with them instead of for them is huge too.
But the things that you're talking about are these superpowers of Enneagram 3s, the being able to adapt your style to meet the moment and truly leading. I mean, you're leading two diverse teams, your retail and patient care. Those are completely different. I don't know a lot of leaders that could do that, but an Enneagram 3 can for sure. Wow, I love that. Okay, let's talk about, Jen, I'm curious about why you pour into your team so much and why professional development is so important to you. What do you know that the rest of the leaders in the world need to know about developing your team?
I think I've been on the end of being under a boss. I've been on the end of being under someone that doesn't truly know their team, doesn't necessarily care about their team. Each person is almost like a factory machine. Everyone has their job and their role, and that's the only thing that they see and go forward with. I never, even in my early days of leadership where I was struggling to be that leader and was doing definitely the manager boss thing, I still knew that everybody had something. Everybody had some type of goal, something that they wanted, like they had an outlook, and learning how I could help with that was very important to me. Moving into the last role where I got to really do some professional development and dig in and figure out even more about me, the goal of doing that wasn't to become a leader. The goal wasn't to climb the ladder and to keep moving forward. It was to learn how to lead myself so that no matter what role I was in, I could be helpful. I could be a resource to people, which was very important to me. So when I did get into a leadership role, even without titles, like my previous role, there was days that I acted as a VP or I acted as the branch director or the administrator. It wasn't my title, and titles don't make you a leader anyways, but it was still an opportunity that I could be that person to pour into that next group. And the first time that you do that to someone, not even do it with someone, to show them like that you're walking beside them and to see the change that happens in that person, if that doesn't make you want to keep doing that for everybody else, you're in the wrong role. 100%, you are in the wrong role. And so I think that was the biggest thing that was like, somebody poured into me, you being one of them, but people poured into me, and each step that I got to go a little bit further to mature in not only an Enneagram 3, but in a person, and even in my mentors that I have in my Christian life, to just mature in even that aspect brought me so much joy and brought so much more into my life. And I just want that for everyone else. So somebody told me one time, and I know it's a famous quote out there somewhere too, I just don't know who said it, but nobody will care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's huge. So if I could give one piece of advice that somebody would take away from anything they hear today, it would be that. Get to know your team, get to know your coworkers, get to know the people around you, and truly care about what you're getting to know. Don't just find it out to jot it down on a piece of paper or to pretend that you knew it. Like, truly get to care and know about the people that are in your life, and then people will care about what you know that can help them to progress to that next level, or help them to be just the best they are at the level they're at, because that may be what they want also. So professional development is huge, not to become a leader, not to climb a ladder, but to be the best person that you can be in whatever role that you're in, and for everyone that is around you.
And you never know the impact you're going to have on somebody. Years later, I have to tell you about this. I got a call this morning. I was sitting at my desk early. I'm writing another book, which you've agreed to write the foreword to. So I'm delighted about that. So I was working on my book, and I look over and I recognize the name. It was from Angelina. And I was like, I wonder why she's calling. So I picked up. And we don't do that nowadays. Like when somebody calls, like you usually have to have an appointment to call somebody. But I was like, I wonder, this must be important. So I picked up, and it was just the sweetest conversation. She was telling me about how she's a leader now. She was able to recognize the leadership gifts in another person. And she realized, somebody else has done this for me, and I'm going to call her and tell her about it. And I didn't know, years ago, I got to work in her world, and she was part of my team. And you never know the impact you're going to have on somebody, but hopefully they pass it down and they pay it forward, and you're teaching the next generation of leaders how to lead by your actions. And it sounds very much like you're doing that right now, Jen, because other people have seen your leadership gifts, have poured into you, and now you're turning around and doing that for future leaders.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things here has been huge that I told one of the ladies on my team, like, she's been in a leadership role before, but she didn't have anybody to pour into her or to really just show like the different ways to lead or the different ways to grow. And to me, putting someone in any type of leadership role and not supporting them, not pouring into them, helping them to develop and giving them professional development workshops or books or coaching is just setting not only that person up for failure, but their entire team for failure. And if your goal as a leader isn't to set your next team member up for success, again, you're in the wrong role.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I've seen that happen. And unfortunately, I think that, and I'm not mind reading, I've just, worked with so many people and coached so many people that it seems like there's really, two things going on there. Either they don't know how, it wasn't modeled for them, or sometimes I think there are some leaders that shouldn't be, or there's some bosses, there's some people in a management role who shouldn't be in that role because they don't want the team below them to rise. And they don't want the hassle of pouring into somebody else to develop them, to coach them, to mentor them. It's too much trouble. And besides, I like where I'm at. And if I develop somebody else, they might take my job.
Yeah, I think that's one of the scariest thoughts is like trying to worry that somebody's going to get ahead of you or be better. Like I tell my team all the time especially when we have meetings, like I never want to be the smartest person in the room, like ever. I don't want to hire people that makes me be smarter than them or feel like I'm more above them. I want to hire people that are going to make me go, oh my gosh, I would have never thought of that. Like that's amazing. And having the diversity in the team that I have here is why we can be successful, is why we can go forward, because there's so many things they come up with and think about and see and feel and know. Yeah, it is exactly. It's mind blowing. Like, I would have never thought some of the things that they do, because I'm focused differently, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing. So having this team that they are focused differently than I am makes us all be able to be successful and grow continuously and grow out like this instead of just this like straight little line.
Gosh, and that's the creative diversity on a team, just our different cognitive perspectives. Like, I don't think like that. I don't see the world that way. Like different Enneagram numbers and different ages and generations and clinical licensures and just different perspectives. The diversity is what I think makes teams so rich and valuable, and we come up with better solutions, and we're innovative and creative, and we're going to just achieve more. And I think it's more fun.
Yes.
You know? So I'm all about
Absolutely.
having fun at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So thinking about the Enneagram and team diversity, I know some of the personalities on your team, such an extraordinary team that you're leading, precious souls with different backgrounds and perspectives. What do you think makes a really good hospice team?
Oh, compassion. That's the biggest thing. You have to be in hospice because truly it was a calling. If you don't feel that you are called to be in hospice and you're not focused in on that side of it, hospice isn't for you. But like every single person that I have here, you could just walk up to them and have a 5-minute conversation and know this is where they're supposed to be. Like that calling, that compassion, that true heart for the ministry of what we do and how we pour into people is in every single one of these members here. And like we said, like talking about Enneagrams and stuff, like you were here because we brought you in to do a leadership workshop with the team. And not just my managers, like my entire team that works here was in that leadership training. Because again, professional development and leadership training isn't for leaders, it's for individuals to grow themselves. But one of the things that my team did was take the Enneagram test with you. And so we learned we have a lot of different Enneagrams here. And whether you're a 2 or a 3 or an 8 or a 5, they all have compassion. Like they all have that calling to be here for the ministry of hospice. And they just look at the world and they see how to do that and how to pour that compassion out differently. But it also allows us to care for so many diversity in patients too, because each one of them can approach that patient or that family differently, but with the same compassion, with the same calling that they've got and the heart for what they're supposed to be doing out there.
Oh my goodness, that's such a great point. You know, in healthcare, we need the creativity, the differences, and the diversity, because we need to deliver culturally competent care to our patients, because not all our patients are not the same. They're not homogenous. They're completely different. They have different backgrounds, different faiths. So they speak different languages. So how valuable is it to have a diverse team so you can care for your patients even more deeply and more meaningfully?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who is, maybe they have leadership gifts, but they don't think of themselves as a leader. They don't have the title of manager, supervisor, director. I'm thinking specifically about your previous role, where you led from a perspective of you obviously were very competent in your role. You were leading through influence and expertise, not because you had a particular title. What would you say to somebody who is a leader, but they don't have that title like you used to do?
I'd say just know that a title doesn't make you a leader, and not having a title doesn't make you not a leader. We lead each other every single day, which is, again, why when I spoke with Heather and was setting up for you to come do that workshop, and you were like, how many, department heads are you going to have in there, or managers or whatever? And I was like, my entire team is coming. Like, my CNAs came, my nurses came, my chaplain, my social workers, like, they all came because we are all leading someone at some time in our life besides ourselves. Like, we have to lead ourselves first, but we're all influencing somebody, whether you realize you're leading them and influencing them or not. So if you have that, you feel that you're recognizing that you're getting to lead somebody, that's awesome. That is like one of the first things. Like, that means that you really have a heart and a passion for it. Pour into it. Don't wait for someone else to pour into you. Seek it out. There are so many amazing things out there. Books that you can read. Heather's got one now and one coming out later. That are just amazing. That really they really focus in on how you can grow yourself and how to recognize those skills that you have, and also those challenges that you have. We all have challenges and blind spots.
Oh, absolutely.
And trust me, as a 3, some of those blind spots were huge. It was also why that first role did not work out great in management for me.
Yeah.
But getting to know those and getting to see those and learn what they are and how you can navigate to turn those challenges into amazing strengths that can help you pour into someone else, or to even help bring out some more creativity in your own self, is huge. So don't worry about a title. Don't wait for someone else. Like, get a book, learn about yourself, learn about the different things with leadership, and seek out that different advice and those people that can professionally pour into you as well.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because not everybody has a leader who will recognize a gift in them, or somebody who wants to, like, let me come alongside you and coach you and mentor you. Some people, they feel really lonely in their role, and they're like, they feel like they're in it on their own. And unfortunately, sometimes they are. So I love that advice that you're giving of don't wait for somebody else. Just work on yourself, develop yourself. And you said that earlier. You're like, why did I become a leader? Well, your first goal was to work on yourself, and then you can lead others. And I think that's true across the board for all of us. You can't lead another person well until you lead yourself. And so if you're in that role, you're in that position of nobody's recognizing me, nobody's pouring into me. I hate that, but
Yes.
do it yourself. Go for it. Read a book, listen to a podcast, start chasing. I call it chasing down the ball. Go chase down the ball. Look for opportunities for projects that you can volunteer for, and ask your boss, what else can I do to make your world lighter, your job easier, and then hopefully you will get recognized and noticed from all of that.
Yeah, somebody told me one time, you don't dress for the role that you have, you dress for the role that you want. And it's the same thing, like your attitude, your development, the people that you're around, the things that you are reading, the podcasts you're listening to, the workshops you're attending, that's dressing. That's your dressing of what you want to be. So if you want to stay like where you're at, kudos. That's awesome. Like, we have people like, just pour into where you're at. But if your goal is to be able to pour into others, dress for that role.
So I have had the privilege of seeing your culture in person, and you're leading such an amazing team and building this extraordinary culture. Why does team culture matter so much nowadays?
So coming here, this team had their own culture, and I was kind of just thrown into it, which can cause quite a few ripples when you bring somebody in, especially someone that's the new leader there, and they've already got a culture happening. The culture wasn't bad by no means. They had a great thing going here. But as we were making some changes, the culture kind of took a big dip. because not everybody was on board with what we were doing, which is, again, another thing that I learned as we were doing it, was some of the changes that we were making absolutely needed to be changed and made, but I didn't know the team that well just yet. And these changes had to be made so fast that I didn't know how they were going to respond to it. I didn't know ahead of time, because I didn't know them to know we needed to have some conversations about that first. We needed to give them time to wrap their heads around what was happening and make sure they were part of that change before those changes were happening. So when that culture took a dip, everything took a dip. Like, our referrals decreased, the satisfaction with our patients decreased some. Because no matter how much you don't want to show some of those things that are happening internally or within your work family to outsiders, it affects your life and it affects how you're feeling coming to work every day. And so it does kind of pour out into other things. So we saw that happening, and I reached out to Heather. Honestly, like, that's exactly what we did. I was like, we've got to rebuild this culture here. We've got to get this team back together and on board, and we got to figure out how to do that. And again, the first thing I knew was that we needed to pour into them professionally. We needed to, like, get to know each other as a team, and this one big workshop was the best way to do that. And it truly did. It truly changed the entire culture, the entire atmosphere that we had here, because not only did I not know them that well yet, they didn't know me that well. And honestly, even though some of them have worked together for years, they didn't know each other that well.
Yeah.
There was so many things. One of the biggest feedbacks that we got from that workshop was how amazing it was to get to know each other on a different level, to get to know why someone did what they did or why they thought the way that they thought. So rebuilding that culture changed everything here. The way that we come to work, the way that we show up for our patients, the way that we show up for each other. If you don't, let me say this. I know a lot of people say, like, my work family is a thing, and I think that's a term that we throw around kind of loosely. But you truly do spend way more time with the people that you work with than you do your work family or your family at home. So this truly is a work family. And if this family isn't jiving together, our house is crumbling. And we didn't want it to crumble by any means. So I can tell you, like, every single thing in your business, every single thing in your office, whether it's your thrift store, a retail place, a clinical setting, every single thing starts with culture. 100%. If the culture is not there, you will not thrive. You will not move forward. Your business will fail.
Yeah, what's that? The Peter Drucker, what is it? That culture eats strategy for breakfast?
Yes.
Basically. Yeah. It begins and ends with culture. No matter what your metrics are, no matter what your goals are, no matter what industry you're in, no matter your EBITDA, it all starts with culture. Like the values, beliefs, behaviors, attitudes, the way we treat each other, the words we use on our team. And it's fascinating. When, like, I came in and we learned the Enneagram together. I taught your team the Enneagram, and it's so interesting to realize you're doing that not because you're mean or you're incompetent. That's just how you see the world. You're doing that because your motivations are different than my motivations. You just have a different lens that you're looking through, and how amazing and wonderful is that? That's the coolest thing, when we
100%.
realize that we're just so different, and that's strength. That's not a weakness. Yeah.
No, and I can tell you, like, that, learning that not only helps the culture and your work environment, it'll help you personally. It will help you in your personal life. It will help you to understand your spouse better, to understand your children better. Like, it's huge.
Like everything.
That knowledge is so much power.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Jen, this has been such a great conversation. I could talk to you all day, but Percy is knocking at the door. Percy is my research penguin. He is the coolest member of the I'm In team, and he has some questions for you. Percy, are you there? Come on in. Thank you, Percy. So Percy's first question for you, Jen, comes from a previous guest, and her name is Beth English. She was on the show earlier. And her question is, what's one successful creative practice that you can bring to your team so that they feel seen and heard? So what's one creative practice that you can bring to your team so that they feel seen and heard?
That is a great question. And it's definitely something that we think about here a lot. Even Heather brought that up with her workshop, doing that creative leadership and thinking about that. So one of the things that we've done here that really helps our team is anytime that we're making some changes, especially with our policies, we've created a policy team. So that group of people reviews any policy together. And they all have different backgrounds. They all have different areas that they're coming from, so that we make sure that we're looking at any of those policies that we're going to change or not change from many different perspectives. And it's not just leaders that are in that group or that they're getting to put their input into that, because I need everybody's input from it for us to be able to truly move forward with it, and make sure, again, that culture is staying, because we all did truly put a lot of heart, soul, and thought into it. So I think just being creative in how you're making changes and moving forward with those to involve your team in some way.
Yeah, change management is hard to begin with. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, great. Thanks, Jen. Okay, so Percy's second question is, what question would you like to ask a future guest?
Oh, I think one of the things I ask myself a lot, I think it's a great thing for a leader, is what would you tell yourself a few years back, or some upcoming leaders, that you wish you had known when you walked into leadership to begin with?
Oh, what do you wish you had known when you walked into leadership? Wow, great. That's a good question. That's going to generate some good conversation. Thanks for that, Jen. Well, what I want to give you the final word, my friend. What's on your head? What's on your heart? What are you thinking? What inspiration would you like to leave our listeners today?
First, thank you, Heather. Like I said, it's very humbling and honoring to be able to be on your show. I truly appreciate it. I think, to me, the biggest thing is, no, hospice isn't a bad thing. Know that hospice is here to help. Help me spread that word. Help me change that stigma out there that hospice truly is the next level of care. And then personally, I would just say, pour into yourselves. A title doesn't make you a leader. Not having a title doesn't make you not a leader. Pour into yourselves. You go to the gym because you want to work out and be healthy for yourself. You looked at that. You found those resources. You found that gym. You decided what to do to grow your health and your fitness. Do the same thing for your professional development. Go to that gym. Do those workouts. Pour into yourself.
Beautiful analogy. I love that. Let's all go to the leadership gym. Here we go. I'm in.
I'm in.
Oh, wow. Well, where can people maybe in Georgia who are listening to this and they would love to learn more about the services of Heart of Georgia, how can they find you? And can you tell us what counties you serve?
Yeah, so we serve 10 counties within Middle Georgia.
Middle Georgia.
There's a lot. I will tell you that for people that live here, the main ones that you're going to recognize is Bibb, Houston, Peach. Those are really right here close. But we go Hospice can go up to a 60-mile radius from their office. That's what the regulations state. We're supposed to be able to get there that fast. We limit ourselves to a 45-mile radius because we don't ever want to not be able to get there in that timely manner. So even though I'd love to serve more patients outside of that radius, we want to keep it to where we are close-knit and always getting there. So we're right here in the Middle Georgia area. Our website is heartofgahospice.org. So you can always look us up on there. You can reach out to us through that website. We've got a contact where you can do a quick messaging, and our phone numbers are there as well. Stop by the office anytime. We're in Warner Robins, Georgia, and we would love to help you.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much for saying I'm in and coming on the show. It's truly my honor to get to host you. So thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for being this podcast to show how we can all be in. I appreciate that.
You bet. And thank you to our listeners for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Share it with somebody that could use a dose of inspiration and creativity. Until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity and bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.